Hello, you all, and this is Initiative General on the Initiative General YouTube channel. Welcome with some new content. Now, for the record, I am recording this at about 12 a.m. in the morning, the day previously, and this video is going to take a lot more time to finish because of my inability to actually buy recording software and voice recording software that would make this any easier. But what I want to talk about is one of the reasons I thought about starting this channel is promotion for my ventures on the Xbox One. Now, I'm pretty sure we had all heard of a game called GTA Online, or GTA 5 if you don't like the online part. Now, I've had a crew in this game for about 5-6 years, going on 6, but I wanted to put a video out there on our history and what we've been doing all these years. So we have about 3 phases up to this point. We'll call it the Militia, the Initiative, and the Republic. 3 iterations of the crew over the years. Some failed, some evolved. Either way, let's get started. Starting off on our list is the Militia. Pretty humble beginnings, all things considered. The Militia started off as just me thinking Zancudo Militia sounded really effing good in my young years. Now, this started about maybe when I was 12 or 13. I know I was pretty young when I started playing this game, and I was probably a bit squeaker, but it was a fun experience. I had a friend, and I had an outfit, and I was saying, hey, let's do stuff. And I forced them to buy an expensive outfit. Eventually, I got the idea, or well, the recommendation from another friend I met, on potentially bringing this crew to Rockstar Social Club. So I went through all the effort of making Rockstar Social Club, and I eventually established the Zancudo Militia. The militia was ran by 3 people: me, a friend called Combat, and a friend called Phoenix. These are their usernames, so I'm gonna help them by not really releasing too much info about them so they don't get doxxed, but that's about the basics you need to know. We were a military crew because, as a friend called it, I have a military boner, apparently. That's as a friend put it, at least. Don't worry, I got many jokes in high school about people calling me Hitler because I wore a military camo jacket in school because I just like having that stuff in my collection. But as far as things go, that was our start. We were a small military crew. You were required to have 3 outfits for urban, forest, or desert. You had to be basically good at every single little thing, which, yeah, that was smart, and there wasn't any real restriction on if you were a good person or not, as in if you were an asshole or not. In this game, what we call the tryhards and or emos, if I go with that slang term. This crew was fine for a while. We got to 15 members. We even had one of my most favorite events I've ever had in GTA. There was a server war before all the oppressors were happening, so we'd have the traditional weapons. It was done before the oppressor became a thing, and it was so fun. I still wish to this day something like that could happen again, but with the oppressor, everyone's just become more and more like an asshole. A petty fight by nowadays standards led to the militia dissolving. I made a very rash decision in my anger and disappointment and my youngness, and I physically banned everybody from the crew and dissolved the crew to try and prove some point to the other 2 commanders of the crew. One of them went on to make deathcore, and one of them, I'm not kidding, rejoined my crew because they spelt the name wrong on the other crew. And that was the end of Militia. So that was an era. And honestly, something I'm not the most proud of, but it was a life experience. It's what's led to me being a better person to actually pursue these new crews later on. Now we pursue the Initiative. Probably the longest period that this crew has ever gone, more than 2-3 years. It's been a long time coming. The Initiative simply started as a evolution and a more expansion of the militia, a chance to start over. As I said, the militia failed. At this point on, the initiative actually continued to prosper and actually evolved into our third subject, which I'll bring up later. The initiative was a crew with multiple branches in an attempt to diversify roles and give you cool outfits to wear. Each branch had a sort of outfit, and through the years it went from there being some, I don't know, German sympathy weirdness. I don't know, for some reason at one point I was thinking, man, the German war song sounds like a banger, and I decided to make actual branches based off German stuff. It even led to a ship we have, a yacht called the USS Bismarck. It's something I'm not going to live down, but it's nothing that's currently affecting us anymore. As we go forward, there is more changes, especially when it comes to the crew's branches. We experimented with having 5 branches, the same as the U.S. military's branches, but eventually we just settled on a Army, a Navy, and an Air Force. Marines being a part of the Navy, and it's self-explanatory what all those three things do. The initiative had a silver ZI, the first actual brand name the crew had that I would go with long term, and it was meant to come up as a private mercenary company, something like that. I think I preferred private military organization because we were more of a setup as a country in terms of what we'd be, or like a mercenary corps with an actual military. And there's always some amount of lore between, oh, we're being contracted by the U.S. government and all this stuff, because eventually the crew's ideals want to become something more than just a bunch of people who fight all day. So instead of fighting for nothing, we decided to fight to try and stop tryhards and stop all that. Even going as far as to help other people in sessions and have an actual protocol for that. It was the first time that we implemented rules in terms of you couldn't join if you were a griefer, or you looked too much like a tryhard, or if you had too weird of Katie, if you're too much of an asshole, stuff like that. We got about to the same 15 members, and we went pretty far with that, to be honest. There was always an issue with the crew not being active or us fighting way too much to the point where we annoyed people away. And that led to the crew transferring a bunch of its positions high up constantly. But throughout the years, the initiative always had one main enemy, and that was my friend's crew, the Top Hat clan. Now, my friend never built this crew up. He always claimed he had 100 friends on Xbox, and that he could call them in, and that was part of his crew. In all reality, he never had more than 3, including himself, compared to a 15-man crew that could probably get 10 people on to fight that. And it basically became a match where I was trying to constantly get him to fight my crew. It led to a lot of things where between the years of 2017 and 2019, we were pretty much in what I call a Cold War, where we were preparing for a war with his crew that never came. Thank God it never came, because that probably would have ruined my friendship fully. This crew already led to that to an extent, because I was obsessed with this idea that we need to fight their crew and win, to the point where it pushed it so far as we eventually led to a fight where I said something not really thinking, and that very well led to almost the end of a friendship I've had for years, which again, not proud of, but it was something to learn for the future. For context, I have made up with them. We're fine, and I'm not going to really release what things were said during that, because that's not really anyone's business, but I learned something that day, and that's what kind of led to the next iteration of our crew. So, our crew never ended. It's just that I decided one day that we needed to eventually change, and if I'm correct, I should probably start talking about that right now. Now we're at the modern iteration. Now, to close up loose ends, I didn't take the event that I almost lost a friend as we need to change, but it kinda, besides the fact that I need to know that I need to become a better person and try to be more careful at what I say and, you know, stop trying to force that, all that stuff, and that's still a continuous battle with me. I knew that it was time to stop this idea that if I wanted to pursue a crew, it can't just be fueled with like the idea of doing one single thing only and just going after one crew that never wanted to do it and trying to force that. That was never going to last. So my idea was we needed to structure something more and a purpose. We needed a community, not a war band, because while we claim to always fight tryhards, constantly fighting, constantly pushing to war was always going to make us the tryhard as well. We always kind of stooped to level in that extent. And to an extent, we still do. It might just be the fact that we don't personally care about distinguishing that line anymore, but the idea is that we no longer try to just put that line on us. And we no longer think about the idea of being the peacekeepers, of helping everybody, because we physically can't, and it's not going to be possible. Either way, like I said, me and him are still friends, and this crew doesn't get in the way of that anymore. I don't try and force this scenario anymore, and I personally don't think me or him cares about this anymore. Well, I care about my crew, but that's not what I was mentioning, so I just don't care to put this on him anymore. I even thought about inviting him to like maybe enjoy parts of the crew, but it's not the most fun experience after a while. The current iteration of our crew, and get this, is called the United Initiative of Zancudo Republics, or UIZR for short. Now I could go along with a long list of names, or like why did I even attempt to come up with that name, but it was to attempt to fit in something else. Now, while the initiative initially had a German boner, I apparently had an American boner when I wrote this crew, because how this crew started was an actual constitution that I wrote on my PC as a side project one day. And I just said, hey, I actually feel motivated to give this crew a try again. Sure, it hadn't fallen, and I kind of just stopped working on it after a while, but why not? Because I decided that I've always wanted to restart the crew and do stuff with it again. But if I was going to do it, I needed to do it right, and I needed to make sure I didn't quit again, because, well, I always come back to it eventually. It's my hobby, and I actually enjoy it. The Constitution was drafted, all the stuff was put in, the power hierarchy, checks and balances, pseudo checks and balances, because there wasn't really one, and crew amendments and laws and stuff like that, and all that was put in the Constitution. And it led to the formation of the United Initiative of Zancudo Republics. Now, our flag is actually the channel's icon, and what you probably see at the beginning of my video, and what you currently see. It is a red, white, and blue flag, 8 stars around a Z. That Z is not associated with the Russians. This was done before the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And of course the red and white stripes. What we are nowadays, we have been constantly flip-flopped, but we've been around for a few months now, and it's become a situation where we kind of do work like a government, be it dysfunctional because I haven't got it fully stocked yet, and we're still not really active because it's hard to kind of get constant activity without having the proper tools. But we'll get to that and why I actually considered making this video. Now, the initiative has an army, navy, air force, which have their own positions. We even have higher forces that are more secretive. We even have our own version of an intelligence agency. An intelligence agency. Let me clarify that because my mic probably didn't pick that up. The Office of Strategic Services, named after the real life one, is kind of the guys that how we keep our information and kind of help us get information on our crews like that might attack us, like triad crews, and we can get information on, I don't know if they're gonna, it's basically another form of protection for the crew. We're doing fine. We've actually exceeded our past numbers, and I'm sort of proud of that. And we've experimented with the idea of doing more than just military stuff, where you have a military, but there's also a way to serve without doing jobs. And the idea is that you can serve a different role than just fighting, and I kind of enjoy that factor. And then the biggest thing that we have is that we have a policy of we only protect people within our crew. We try to. You can call SOS calls for other members to get protection if you're being grieved, stuff like that. And it's the idea that we can bully each other, but no one else gets to bully us, in terms that we'll protect each other, we'll fight with each other, but at the end of the day we all unite against one foe. We're a community, and I try to keep it at least efficient, which is why there is an actual sort of way of handling wrong things done in the crew as well. As we currently stand, we are not fully prepared to fight something, but we do have highly motivated members, at least a few highly motivated members, and enough to buy time. If we require so, we have policies and different rules for that. As far as rules goes, it's adaptations and evolving the initiative's rules, and we still have fighting restrictions to keep us from being the try-hard way of thinking, where there's no eloing. We have to be careful how you use explosives. No oppressors is still a thing, but if I'm gonna be honest, that might change based on certain things. The idea is that we're trying to be technically above the tryhards, but to be honest, it's probably not going to be that easy, and it never has been that easy. In the future, we even have policies that actually kind of just that will allow us to ignore those rules by calling what we call DEFCON 1, where we have the highest officials basically call the equivalent of a nuclear war to allow us to use anything we need to win. But that doesn't mean we drop our morals, but that's about the closest you can get to us fully fighting. It's been a long 6 months, and we've gone through a number of elections now. Unfortunately, since we're not really in a situation to function, we might be skipping June's election. I haven't fully thought that yet, but as per the Constitution, I do have the power to do that. As it is, well, I'm not going to go through the Constitution. I might be able to explain that in a separate video, because it'd be interesting knowledge for people to know if they go into the crew. But that's the basics of it. The UICRs are current iteration currently going strong enough, and here's the part where I'd like to mention what you can do to help us in the future. Now, this video is probably pretty long and most people are going to go away, but honestly I want to try and put it in timestamps on what's what, but that's for a different time because I don't know how to use this software correctly. Basically, we're currently at the UICR, and we've made a decision that in order for us to get the members we need and to work the way we need to, we need more people. Now, we're not planning to swap to next gen for a multitude of reasons, but it's mainly because the majority of the crew's high staff is going to swap and rebuy the same game on a really expensive console. It's currently going for $900 right now. Now the thing is, what you can do to help us is by looking into future products for the UICR. I'll eventually potentially be looking into Instagram as a way to promote our crew, and of course YouTube as a way to promote our crew. This isn't going to be the only thing I do on this channel. I'm going to do much more. Like, I'd like to eventually play games like Fallout New Vegas. I haven't actually played that game, and go through a couple games to show you guys some things I enjoy. But it'd be a real help if you consider joining. If you're looking for a group that's small, is not assholes, and will try to help you at least, then the UICR isn't a bad pick. I try to make this crew small so we can still have a more family feel, but it's obvious by this point that we do need more people to actually give us the chance to fight back and run this crew the way it should be. So, if you're at the end of the video, well done. Once you hit that subscribe button, click the bell, the usual stuff, analytics, whatever. Thing is, if you really want to end this video, I can tell that you at least care. And even if I don't get anything out of this video, if I don't get subscribers, if I don't get likes, it's the one person that actually listens to me talk to them for this long that I thank for being there. Either way, this has been Initiative General, and I'm out, y'all.